paid just 20 to sabotage a date. She discovered an incredible love with a millionaire CEO. The neon lights flickered outside the diner as Sarah wiped the counter for the umpteenth time that day. The smell of coffee mixed with frying bacon filled the air, each whiff reminding her of her long hours and overdue bills. Busy chatter surrounded her, a constant hum of laughter and gossip, yet she felt utterly isolated in her world. At just 28, life had become a cycle of relentless struggle, serving plates of eggs, while her own dreams slipped further away. She longed for something beyond the greasy countertop, something that would untangle the weight of her family's expectations that bore down on her like a heavy quilt. But then, her mischievous friend Kelly dared her to accept 20 to throw a wrench into an arranged blind date with Jake, an enigmatic billionaire CEO. Faces were more than familiar around town, but he was different, wealthy, influential, and maybe a little too polished for her rough edges. Skeptical yet tempted, Sarah saw visions of a riotous evening, a chance to shake things up and maybe even a bit of mischief that might lead to laughter. She felt a flutter of adrenaline mingled with dread. When the night arrived, her heart raced as Jake walked through the door. He was tall, handsome, with a warm smile that could light up the grayest of skies. As soon as their eyes met, a spark ignited between them, entirely unexpected. This wasn't just a wealthy businessman. There was a gentleness about him, an earnest curiosity in how he approached her, like he genuinely wanted to know the girl behind the waitress apron. He was everything she had been warned against, everything she had told herself to avoid. Their conversation flowed seamlessly, as if they were old friends rather than strangers meeting for the first time. They shared stories, their respective burdens surfacing with each laugh and glance. Sarah spoke of dreams that felt like distant stars, while Jake painted a picture of charity work that felt unreal to her. For the first time, she felt someone was truly interested in her. But just as the tension was thickening, something shifted. Her insecurities bubbled beneath the surface, turning laughter into silence as Jake detailed community events she had once dreamed about, dreams her family dismissed with a wave of their hands. Caught between two worlds, Sarah felt like her heart was being pulled in two directions. Could she really bridge the gap of their very different realities? With each story Jake shared, she could see his genuine self battling against the constraints of his fortune, a checkbook in the eyes of many, an isolated man longing for connection. Yet as they peeled back layers of each other's souls, a sudden miscommunication sent them both reeling. Sarah retreated back into her cocoon of self-doubt, just as Jake pulled back to shield himself from the vulnerability he sensed. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. As the evening progressed, Sarah felt the weight of her community rallying behind her. Whispers of Jake's true character began to circulate around town. More than just a facade of wealth, revealing a kind man. But just as clarity seemed close at hand, the familiar face of a past love darkened the doorway, twisting her heart in anguish. Would she leap across the divide for a chance at love? Or would she succumb to the crushing weight of expectation that loomed over her? Sarah's heart sunk at the sight of Mark standing in the doorway. His presence was a jolt to her system, like ice-cold water splashed across her face. She thought she had left their tumultuous past behind. But here he was, leaning against the wall, eyes glinting with a mixture of surprise and something darker. "Sarah." His voice was low, a tentative lilt that reached her even through the din of the diner. A bead of sweat trickled down her spine. She forced herself to smile, spinning quickly to Jake, who was just as caught off guard. It was a look of confusion crossed with genuine concern on his handsome face. That's my ex," she stammered, trying to grip onto each word like a lifeline. "Ex," Jake echoed, his expression morphing into something less delighted, more guarded. Mark stepped further inside, his hand tucked casually into a jean pocket, his unkempt hair falling over his brow. "Thought I'd see if you were all right." Heard from some friends you were struggling. Sarah's cheeks burned hot, embarrassment flooding in with every awkward second that dragged on. I'm fine, Mark. Really? Jake shifted uncomfortably in his seat. Is this a bad time? No. Sarah scrambled for words. She wasn't about to let Mark ruin what could be an incredible connection. Yet she also didn't want to be rude. This was her chance. And she could feel the air pulling away between her and Jake. Sarah, we need to talk, Mark insisted. His voice suddenly a harsh whisper that contrasted with the cheerful clamor surrounding them. The urgency in his tone cut through her resolve, wrapping her in an icy grip of fear and nostalgia. I'm busy right now, she shot back, the strength of her words surprising even herself. Jake remained quiet, observing the scene unfolding. There was a clarity in his gaze, a recognition of what was happening that stung deep within Sarah. He was starting to step back, the warmth she had felt earlier retreating, leaving behind a chill. Is he bothering you? Jake finally asked, the protective tone creeping into his voice. No, it's okay. She felt pinned between two worlds, the past that had once held her captive, and the potential future that shimmered just out of reach. Mark scoffed. Just trying to make sure you're all right, you know? You didn't exactly walk away clean. A wave of pressure rolled over Sarah. She had spent so long trying to break free from the shadows of their relationship. Now here it was threatening to swallow her whole. But she looked at Jake, really looked at him, and saw the flicker of uncertainty in his eyes. Was this the moment she'd let old fears dictate her future? Mark, I don't need saving. I'm doing just fine, she declared, her voice steadier this time. A mixture of disappointment and anger crossed Mark's face. But Sarah couldn't let it affect her. She turned back to Jake, their eyes locking in a silent communication filled with possibilities and fears. Can we just have a moment? She asked, hoping to convey that this was still hers to control. Jake nodded slowly, but he remained tense, and she could see the disappointment crawling through his features. What she didn't expect was the rush of determination surging inside her as she faced Mark. It was time to reclaim her narrative, to stand for herself and for what she truly wanted. Through the clamor and confusion, she had to decide if she was going to confront her past head-on or retreat back into the shadows of what once was. Before she could articulate that choice, Jake stood up, his chair scraping against the floor. I think I should go. And in that moment, as the door swung shut behind him, Sarah felt an unmistakable crack in her heart. Would she let him walk away without a fight? Every part of her screamed in protest. A hopeful vibration running through her veins, she still had a chance if only she could summon the courage to reach out. Did she have what it took to fight for love? Or would she lose everything she had just begun to discover? The moment the door clicked shut behind Jake, a heavy silence wrapped around Sarah, sealing her in a world where only she and Mark existed. She could feel her heart pounding, the rhythm echoing in her ears as she turned to face him. What do you want, Mark? She struggled to keep her voice steady but felt the quiver betray her. Here was her past, raw and unrelenting. I just want to talk. You can hear me out for a second, right? He stepped closer, his casual demeanor faltering. Sarah could see a flicker of desperation in his eyes, a reminder of the boy she once loved and not the man standing before her now. Talk about what? How you shattered everything I thought I knew. She shot back, every word laced with pain. Mark opened his mouth to respond, but the words hung in the air, heavy with unspoken history. The scent of coffee and fried food faded into the background as her memories of him rushed in like a tidal wave. There were moments spent laughing until their sides hurt, but they were suffocated by the arguments that followed. Look, I know I messed up. I just want to see if you're okay. I've been worried, he said, his voice softer now. That's rich coming from you, Sarah replied bitterly. You had your chance to care and you threw it away. The tension in Mark's shoulders seemed to steel, but he didn't back down. I'm trying to fix things, Sarah. If I didn't care, I wouldn't be here. I saw your name in the paper, saw what happened. I wanted to be there for you. At his words, something inside Sarah shifted, the armor she had built around herself cracking just a little. Yet, she clamped down on the emotion, unwilling to show him any sign of vulnerability. I don't need your pity. I'm rebuilding my life without you. Where is this coming from? Mark's brows pinched together, confusion mixing with hurt. We shared so much. How can you just pretend that never happened? His question pierced through her defenses, and for a moment, she felt her resolve falter. The truth was, she hadn't forgotten. The good and the bad swirled into a complex tapestry of memory that was hard to unravel. She bit her lip, fighting the urge to drop her guard. Because I'm tired of being dragged down by our past. I'm trying to move on, she confessed, her voice breaking slightly on the last words. Moving on doesn't mean forgetting, he argued, frustration bubbling under the surface. It's okay to feel torn, Sarah. Their eyes met, and in his gaze, she found that same boy who had once held her hand and made her laugh. But with the memories came the sharp pang of their reality, the screaming fights, the misunderstandings, and ultimately, the heartbreak. She took a step back, shaking her head. You can't just pop back into my life and expect me to forget. Mark, I deserve more than a half-hearted attempt to reconnect. Maybe I've finally realized that, he replied quietly, those darker emotions flickering in his gaze once again. What if I said I'd do anything to show you I've changed? To earn your trust back? The diner hummed around them, but it felt like they were the only two people in the universe. Sarah wrestled with his proposition, her heart thudding painfully in her chest. But deep down, she felt the pull of something she hadn't dared to admit, a lingering attachment. Perhaps? Yet, did she have the strength to open herself up again, even if he was sincere? Earn back my trust? Sarah echoed. That's not so easily done. Then give me a chance, he pleaded, his voice barely above a whisper. She stared into his eyes, searching for the truth behind his words. Just then, a fleeting image of Jake crossed her mind, his encouraging smile, the kindness he showed so effortlessly. Would she risk losing that connection by delving back into the chaos of her past? But as the question hung between them, a phone chimed loudly, breaking the moment. Both turned their heads, startled, and Sarah reached for her bag, frowning when she saw the familiar name light up the screen. Was it Jake? Had he decided to come back? She ignored Mark's questioning gaze, focusing on the message flashing before her. Tension hung palpably in the air as she suddenly realized that a decision had to be made, not just about Mark or any remnants of their past, but about who she wanted to be moving forward. Could she take a leap of faith again? Or was it time to close that chapter for good? Before she could ponder further, the chime of her phone was drowned out by the bustling crowd, and she pressed her lips together, her heart racing in anticipation of what came next. Sarah's breath hitched as she glanced down at her phone. The name on the screen sent a surge of conflicting emotions coursing through her. Jake. Mark's body language shifted subtly as he caught the hint of her distress. Sarah, what's wrong? There was sincerity in his tone, an unexpected concern that drew her attention back to him. But the message from Jake felt like an anchor, grounding her thoughts in the present. She swiped the screen open and read the text. Hey, just checking in. Hope you're okay. Can we talk later? Why did this simple message stir the butterflies in her stomach? It was as if Jake's words wrapped around her heart, creating a cocoon of warmth. She hesitated, her decision hanging in the air like the smell of burnt coffee from the diner's kitchen. We need to talk, she mumbled, the weight of the situation pressing down on her. Is that him? Mark asked. In his question lingered the raw edge of jealousy and a hint of desperation. Sarah glanced back at him, searching his expression for a trace of the boy she had loved, longing to believe he could still be that person. But the years had weathered him and her in ways that could not be undone. It's complicated, she admitted. Life is complicated, he replied softly, stepping closer. But you shouldn't have to pick between the past and the future. She could feel the truth of his words digging into her heart. It was easier to resent him than to acknowledge the remnants of her feelings still clinging stubbornly to hope. But could she truly set aside the hurt, the mistrust? Could they build something anew? Or were they destined to repeat the same mistakes? Sarah Mark searched her face, as if he could read her thoughts, but she turned her focus back to her phone. The glowing screen felt like a lifeline. What if she called Jake? Would it be easier to run to the familiar? A subtle shift in the atmosphere pulled her gaze back to Mark. He was standing so close now that she could feel the warmth radiating from him, memories of shared laughter and whispered hopes swirling in the air. Just give me a chance, he insisted again, his voice a thread of urgency woven between them. Let me prove to you that I've changed. Let me help you heal if you'll let me. The sincerity in his plea struck something deep within her, and the tension in her chest tightened. She could practically feel the weight of every decision she had made driving toward this moment. This second chance. This gamble with her heart. Give me time, she replied slowly, the words heavy with something like hope, or perhaps fear. Just I need to figure things out. Before Mark could respond, Sarah's phone chimed again, breaking the delicate moment they had created. She glanced down. It was another text from Jake. This one read, "I'm here for you, no matter what." The words hit her like a punch. She could either reach back for safety, or take a leap into the unknown. Her heart raced as she weighed her options yet again, knowing one decision could change everything. Finally, the sound of the diner door opened, startling them both. A bright flash of warmth and energy swept inside as three friends entered, laughing and chatting. The energy in the room shifted. Mark's attention turned toward the new arrivals, his expression tightening slightly. More distractions, he muttered under his breath, but she caught the inkling of humor in his tone. The noise and laughter felt overwhelming, contrasting sharply with the silence that sits heavy in her heart. And in that moment, Sarah knew she had to take control, to take her life back. She looked at Mark, then back to her phone. "Let us talk," she whispered, her heart throbbing. "But not here. Not now." "Okay," he said, his eyes steady, too steady. "I'll wait. Just don't take too long." The weight of his words hung between them, charged with unspoken possibilities. As she got up to leave the diner, her decision still elusive, she caught Jake's name swirling in her mind again. Mark followed her outside, the chill of the evening wrapping around them as they stepped into the night. Could she navigate this crossroad? Would she still find a way to heal from the past while also opening her heart to what might come? As she stood there, feeling the tension crackle under her skin, Sarah whispered a quiet prayer to herself. Could this moment be the catalyst she needed for change, or would it lead to another heartache? With the wind at her back, she took one step forward, ready for what came next. The cold air nipped at Sarah's cheeks as she took a deep breath, pushing the din of the diner behind her. The sounds of laughter faded, replaced with the sound of her heart pounding in her ears. Mark walked beside her, his presence a mixture of warmth and uncertainty. "Where do you want to go?" he asked, breaking the silence. His gaze flickered over her face, searching for an answer. "Somewhere we can talk," she replied, glancing toward the street ahead. The world felt both familiar and alien after their conversation. They wandered toward the park, a typical spot filled with memories of summer days spent there with friends, a sanctuary for quiet moments. But tonight, it possessed an air of uncertainty. The trees around them swayed gently, their branches whispering secrets she felt too afraid to hear. "Sarah," Mark's voice sliced through her thoughts like a gentle breeze. "I meant what I said back there. I want to be here for you." She turned halfway to meet his eyes, searching for sincerity in his face. His worry was palpable, but beneath that was a thread of hope. It was hard not to be drawn to him, despite the shadows of their past. I need to think." "Thinking is good," he said. "But don't think too long, or you'll miss the chance to decide what truly makes you happy." Those words hung in the air, heavy and significant. Was she truly ready to choose happiness? The thought fluttered inside her, poised to take flight but tethered by doubt. As they reached a bench, she lowered herself onto it, the coolness of the metal seeping through her jeans. Mark sat beside her, close but not pushing, offering a steady silence that allowed her to collect her thoughts. "I still don't know what I want," she muttered, almost under her breath. "You don't always have to have it figured out. Sometimes it's okay to be uncertain. Just keep searching for what feels right." His understanding made her heart ache. That's what she had longed for, someone to acknowledge her struggle without judgment. She glanced at the glowing screen of her phone again, the unanswered text from Jake tugging at her thoughts. Jake was safe for me, she confessed quietly. But is safe really what I want? Mark's eyes narrowed slightly in contemplation. Safety can be comforting, but comfort isn't always happiness. It's okay to want more, to want to feel alive. The truth of that statement bounced around in her mind. Did she want to feel alive again? The burning edges of heartbreak were still fresh, but there was a growing sense of courage pushing her forward. How do I know if I can trust you? She asked, her voice barely above a whisper. He turned to her, intensity blazing in his eyes. You don't. But you have to take chances sometimes, Sarah. Otherwise, you'll always wonder what could have happened. She weighed his words, feeling the weight of the decision looming. But wasn't that what life was? A series of bets on feelings and choices? As the night deepened around them, she could feel the confusion lingering like the fog rolling into the park. Just then, her phone chimed again, jolting her from her thoughts. She looked down, seeing another message from Jake. I miss you. The pull between the hurt of the past and the beckoning of new possibilities twisted inside her like a knot. I need to reply, she said, lifting the phone to her ear, yet reluctant to open the screen. Wait, Mark's voice was urgent. Before you do that, ask yourself, what do you truly want? The question reverberated in her mind, leaving her teetering on the edge of two worlds. The familiar pull of safety and the electric thrill of stepping into the unknown. As she clenched her phone tight, her heart raced in rhythm with her breath. What did she truly want? And was she ready to let go of Jake to find out? With the weight of her decision pressing down, Sarah could feel the ground shifting beneath her, her path unclear but glowing with potential. Sometimes choices reveal the truth hidden within. But the question remained, would she take that leap? Before she could decide, a shadow loomed behind them, disrupting the moment. In an unexpected way, Sarah? The voice called her name, and she whipped around, heart pounding. Would it be the answer she sought, or another layer of complication in a night already thick with tension? Sarah? The voice sent a chill down her spine, instantly familiar yet laced with unexpected dread. Turning, she found herself face to face with Jake, his brows furrowed, worry evident in his eyes. Jake, she barely managed, the sound a whisper. Her mind raced, battling the flood of emotions and the reality of his sudden appearance. Is this a bad time? He asked, glancing between her and Mark, who was sitting awkwardly on the bench. The tension hung thick in the air, an invisible web weaving their past into the night's fragile moment. No, she lied, her stomach tightening at the sight of him. We were just talking. Mark shifted slightly, studying Jake with an unreadable expression. This was not how she envisioned their night going. Talking? Jake echoed, his voice edged with concern that tightened her throat. About what? Just she trailed off. What could she say? That she was weighing the ghosts of their past against the excitement of what could be with Mark? Instead, she opted for a non-committal shrug, hoping to diffuse the rising tension. I think we need to chat, Jake said, stepping closer, his eyes flickering back to Mark. Okay, she replied, but her heart remained caught in the tangle of her unresolved feelings. Mark stood up slowly, his shoulders squared, a hint of protectiveness in his stance. Maybe this is a private conversation. Mark, it's fine, Sarah insisted, her voice firmer than she felt. I owe Jake an explanation. Mark hesitated, his gaze lingering on her. Then he turned away, taking a step backward. Just be honest with yourself, okay? The pinch in her chest twisted sharper as she watched him walk away, leaving her alone with Jake. Are you okay? Jake's voice softened. You look conflicted. I'm fine, she replied too quickly. How did you even find me? I saw you leave the diner. He shoved his hands into his pockets, looking overly casual, but the nerves in his frame betrayed him. She could feel the tendrils of awkwardness wrapping around them. It was crowded. I didn't expect you to miss you? I didn't. He cut her off, and for a moment, his mask slipped, revealing vulnerability. I've missed us, Sarah. I've realized a lot since... Her heart raced with every word he said, but she couldn't let herself get carried away by the nostalgia. Since we broke up, I messed up. The air crackled with tension. Memories flooded back. The laughter, shared meals, and the warmth of his embrace. Yet, in all that recollection, doubt whispered incessantly. Jake, I need space. I'm trying to figure things out for myself. His expression darkened. Is that what he is? Someone you're trying to figure out? It's not like that. We were just talking. But you're thinking about it, aren't you? He pressed, desperation creeping into his tone. I don't know, she shouted, the words slipping out before she could rein them in. Frustration welled within her, releasing the tension she felt for weeks. Then why can't we just know? She interrupted. I'm not ready to go back to what we had, Jake. There is so much more I need to understand about myself first. Silence fell between them, heavy and ominous. Jake looked hurt, but there was also an edge of understanding in his gaze. Then why did you entertain him? Because he listens, Jake. He doesn't assume I'm okay with everything just because I was once happy, she exclaimed, frustration boiling over. He's not my safety net, but maybe that's what I need to explore right now. Realization flickered across his face. So that's it? He's just temporary? I can't say he's temporary or anything at all. I just want to live, Jake, she whispered, even if it's messy. A pause lingered as he regarded her, searching for something he couldn't find. Then, his lips pressed tight, he exhaled sharply, his facade crumbling. Finally, he turned to leave, but not without a painful look back. I just wanted you to know I'm here. As Jake walked away, Sarah felt a weight shifting inside her, like a door closing, but also one opening. Mark returned, his expression tense but hopeful. Are you okay? I think so, she answered softly, heart still racing. You chose to have the conversation. Yeah. But before she could finish, her phone buzzed again, demanding attention. She opened it, her heart racing as she recognized the name at the top. The surprise note belonged to someone she hadn't considered in ages. I really need to talk to you. Come to the office tomorrow? Both Mark and the weighty past lingered in her mind. And now, another unknown stretched before her. Were these new messages and choices unraveling something deeper within her? Sarah? Mark's voice pulled her back. There was a familiar spark of excitement and dread leading her path. Would she confront her past, or allow her present to unravel? As she locked eyes with him, she felt the choice before her. There was a conversation, a path, and a leap she could dive into. But would she choose the familiar safety of Jake or the unknown possibilities with Mark? What will the next leap reveal? She wondered. The night air hung heavy, charged with unsaid words and unmade choices. Sarah glanced at Mark, his face softened by the glow of the street lamps around them. His concern radiated a warmth that contrasted sharply with the turmoil Jake had left in her heart. Do you want to talk about what just happened? Mark asked, his voice low but steady. She exhaled slowly, feeling the weight of her emotions. I thought I had it all figured out. But you don't? He stepped closer, his eyes searching hers. No, she admitted, leaning against the rough group of the bench as her mind reeled with Jake's words. I don't even know what I want anymore. Mark nodded slowly, a knowing look in his deep hazel eyes. It's okay not to know. It's part of figuring things out. Maybe, she murmured, feeling the comfort of his understanding but also the gnawing worry that it might not be enough. The phone buzzed again, drawing her eyes. She hesitated, then swiped it open. The message was still there, glaring back at her. It felt like an omen from the universe. I really need to talk to you, it read. Come to the office tomorrow? What's that? Mark asked, peering over her shoulder, curiosity piqued. An invitation, she replied absently, her thoughts already spinning a web of possibilities. She thought of the office filled with laughter and familiar faces, but also of past challenges that had shaped her. What are you thinking? Mark pressed gently, bringing her focus back to him. I don't know. Could be important. She felt a flicker of excitement. But it could also complicate things. Complication isn't always bad, he said, planting that seed of hopefulness in her heart. Still, Sarah couldn't help but spiral into the chaos of her emotions once again. Jake's words echoed in her ears. The hurt in his eyes haunted her. Yet, so did the promise of something new with Mark. Something fresh and untainted by history. "Tell me what you want to do," Mark urged, making it clear he was here for her, ready to support whatever choice she made. What did she want? The thought swirled as she met his gaze, finding a fleeting moment of peace in the depths of uncertainty. "I think I need to go," she said, surprising even herself. "I need to face this, whatever it is. But I want you to come with me." His smile, tentative but radiant, lit up her insides. Felt reassuring and terrifying all at once. "I'm here," he said. "Just say the word." The warmth between them surged, encouraging yet unsettling. Sarah took a deep breath as the reality loomed closer. The intertwining of her past with Jake and her budding feelings for Mark felt like a tightrope walk between safety and risk. Suddenly the phone buzzed again, this time a notification from a social media app, but she couldn't ignore it. Instead, her eyes widened. A photo of a familiar face filled the screen, an old crush from high school. There was a caption below it, teasing something about a reunion. Memories of laughter and unfulfilled dreams washed over her, stirring a longing she thought buried. "What's that?" Mark asked, but she was already lost in thought. "Just people from my past," she replied, her voice trailing off. "What if they want to reconnect? What if it's more chaos?" He prompted, a soft smile tugging at his lips. She laughed weakly, feeling a mix of fear and intrigue. "It might be chaos, but maybe that's how I learn, right?" "Then chaos it is," he chuckled, easing her tension. "Just don't forget to let me know how you feel." Yet beneath that laughter, a deeper question loomed. Was she bold enough to truly embrace the chaos, or would she fall back into old patterns fearing what might come next? As they took a step forward, leaving the bench behind, Sarah contemplated the journey ahead. The path twisted and turned between old flames, new prospects, and rekindled connections. Each step echoed with possibility. "Sarah?" Mark's voice broke through her thoughts. "Whatever you decide, I'm right here." And as they walked side by side into the night, a sense of unknown adventure hung in the air, waiting for her to choose. But could she be brave enough to face it all, or would she let the past dictate her future? That uncertainty hung like a shadow, urging her forward, heart racing with anticipation. What awaited her at the office the next day would surely be a turning point. Would she find the closure she needed, or another path altogether? The morning arrived draped in a gripping silence that felt almost surreal. As the sunlight filtered softly through the curtains, Sarah could hardly believe it was the day she had circled on her calendar. A part of her longed to hide beneath the covers, to avoid the confrontation brewing on the other side of her phone. "Are you ready?" Mark's voice, steady and familiar, pulled her from her thoughts. He stood on the corner of her street, hands in his pockets, his expression a mix of curiosity and steadfast support. "I will be," she replied, managing a smile as she turned to face him. But inside, her stomach churned. She had no idea what to expect at the office or from Jake. As they walked, the world around them felt amplified: the chirps of birds, the distant sound of traffic, the rustling of leaves as they swayed in the breeze. Each sound was a reminder that life continued, despite her internal chaos. "Just remember," Mark said, breaking the silence, "whatever you feel, it's valid. You're allowed to be confused." She felt a rush of gratitude for his presence. With each step, she could feel the knot in her chest tightening and loosening, a constant battle between hope and fear. When they reached the office, a familiar tension filled the air. The collective buzz of chatter and laughter floated around them, but it felt distant, like listening to music from another room. Sarah's eyes darted towards the conference room where the meeting would take place. "Are you sure you want to go in?" Mark asked, reading her hesitation like an open book. "Yeah, I need to," she replied more firmly now. Heart thumping, she pushed the door open, and they stepped inside. A few familiar faces turned to greet her, their smiles instantly grounding her. But as Jake walked into view, a chill washed over her. He looked different, more polished, yet the weight of their past hung heavily between them. His gaze locked onto hers, and for an instant, the chaos of her emotions threatened to overwhelm her. "Sarah," he said, voice steady but laced with something she couldn't quite decipher. "Thank you for coming." She swallowed hard, determined to hold herself together. "You wanted to talk?" "Yes, there's a lot I'd like to explain," he said, rubbing the back of his neck, a gesture that used to bring her comfort. Mark's presence at her side felt like an anchor, yet she felt a part of her wavering. "I'm here too." He stepped forward, showing his support, an unspoken promise that she wouldn't have to do this alone. As Jake began to speak, the words tumbled out, a mixture of apologies, explanations, and regret. Each sentence sparked old feelings, memories that were sweet and painful all at once. Sarah found herself torn. Did she want to hear what he had to say? Did she really want to revisit the past? While Jake spoke, she could feel Mark's presence beside her, steady and comforting. It reminded her of the warmth he had brought to her life these past few days. "What are you thinking?" he whispered, leaning closer. "I don't know. Every part of me wants to stop him, but it feels necessary. Like I need this." Mark nodded, his brows furrowed with compassion. The tension crackled in the air, thick with anticipation as Sarah realized this wasn't just about closure. This gathering could completely redefine her relationships. As the meeting progressed, emotional truths became tangled with complicated realities. Sarah's heart raced as each revelation unspooled Jake's past actions, digging deeper than she ever expected. Would she find clarity or simply a deeper mess of emotions? As Jake finished speaking, Sarah felt the weight of the air shift. "I need to think about this," she replied, her voice steadier than she felt. Jake nodded slowly, a flicker of hope in his eyes mixed with worry. The silence stretched as her thoughts raced. Mark squeezed her hand, grounding her amidst the emotional storm. "What now?" Mark asked quietly, his presence a reminder of where she stood. Uncertainty flooded back, but she felt something else blooming inside her, a sense of strength. "I need time." But did she truly want to give Jake that time, or was she ready to claim her own future? As they left the office, Sarah felt the pull of old wounds and new beginnings battling for her heart. With every step away from that familiar place, the possibility of what lay ahead weighed heavily on her mind. Would her choice push her deeper into the shadows of her past, or lead her towards the light she had found with Mark? The questions echoed in her mind like a mantra as they stepped into the unknown. The sun's warmth hit Sarah's face as they stepped outside, a stark contrast to the chill that lingered in the conference room. She inhaled deeply, trying to ground herself in the moment. Mark walked beside her, his presence like a steady flame in the lingering shadows of uncertainty. "Do you want to talk?" he asked, glancing at her with those understanding eyes. "I don't know what to think yet," she admitted, the weight of everything she had just heard still hanging in the air. It's a lot." "Yes, it is," Mark said softly, giving her hand another reassuring squeeze. They strolled down the street, the familiar sounds of the city filling the silence between them. Footsteps echoed on the pavement, punctuated by laughter from passing crowds. Yet, Sarah felt like she was in a bubble, the noise around her muted by her thoughts. "Mark, what if I give Jake a chance?" She wondered aloud, her breath hitching at the thought. "What if I try to go back to him? What does that say about me?" "Says you're human," he replied, his tone unwavering. "We all want to believe in second chances sometimes, we just need to tread carefully." A little voice inside her whispered that Mark understood her more than anyone else. Their connection was tangible, simple, yet profound. She was torn between the comfort of what she knew with him and the allure of what could have been with Jake. "Do you want to go get coffee?" Mark suggested, breaking through her spiraling thoughts. "I think you need a moment to breathe, away from all that." The thought of a warm cup in hand and a casual conversation felt comforting. "Yeah, that sounds nice." They found a quaint coffee shop just a few blocks away. The rich aroma of roasting beans enveloped them as they stepped in, the ambience a soothing balm for her frayed nerves. They settled into a cozy corner, sunlight streaming through the window, illuminating their small table, as they waited for their drinks. Sarah couldn't shake the flicker of doubt. What if I decide to reach out to Jake? What if I mess things up again? I don't want to hurt you, Mark. Mark met her gaze, his expression open. You won't hurt me by exploring what you need. I'm here for you, whatever that looks like. Just promise me you'll listen to your heart, not just your head. His words settled in her chest, both comforting and daunting. Her heart did feel heavy, a blend of lingering affection for Jake and the new bond she had formed with Mark. Was it truly fair to explore her past when a potentially bright future awaited her? Before she could voice her concerns, the barista called out their names. With drinks in hand, they returned to their seats, and Sarah took a sip, the warmth traveling down to her core. Feeling emboldened by the caffeine, she looked at Mark. Can we talk about us? He raised an eyebrow, intrigued yet cautious. What about us? This connection we have, I don't know what it means yet, but I feel something real with you. I can't ignore it, and I don't want to. There was a beat of silence as Mark took in her words. Relief and surprise danced in his eyes. You feel it too? I thought it was one-sided. A rush of warmth flooded through her. I thought so too, but it's growing stronger. Just then, her phone buzzed on the table, a text lighting up the screen. She picked it up, her heart racing at the sight of Jake's name. I want to talk. Can we meet? Staring at the message, Sarah felt time freeze. Just as the weight of her decision loomed over her like a storm cloud, a part of her couldn't ignore the lightning bolt of excitement and fear that ripped through her. Would she step back into the whirlwind of her past? Or would she risk it all on a brand new path? Sarah? Mark's voice pulled her from her trance. I need to respond, she said, the tension in her chest escalating. What will she choose as her next step? The decision ahead held the potential to shift everything. The sun dipped low in the sky, casting a warm glow over the small park where Sarah sat with Mark. The air felt electric, charged with possibilities and unresolved feelings. After what felt like an eternity, she finally sighed, glancing at Mark again. It's time to choose, isn't it? Yeah, it is, Mark replied, his voice steady yet laced with concern. He rested his hands on the table, his eyes on hers, waiting. With a deep breath, Sarah pulled out her phone, her fingers trembling slightly as she prepared to type a response to Jake. The sunlight caught the screen, making the text blink brightly. The weight of her past hung between them, yet in Mark's silent encouragement, she found the strength to confront it. Jake, she typed, hesitating before finishing with, I think we need to talk. She pressed send, a rush flooding through her. There was no going back now. She cast a glance at Mark, whose expression mixed hope and understanding. Are you okay? He asked softly, reaching out to cover her hand. I don't know, she admitted, her voice barely above a whisper. Jake was my past, and I need closure. But I care about you, Mark. I don't want to hurt you. He smiled, his warmth radiating through her. You won't hurt me by being true to yourself. You have to do this for you. I'm here whatever happens. After moments that felt like hours, Sarah's phone buzzed again. It was Jake responding swiftly. Okay, how about later tonight? I just want to talk. Her heart raced, a mix of anxiety and anticipation swirling inside. Later tonight, she echoed. Felt like a lifeline thrown her way. But would she grab it? Do you have a plan? Mark asked, leaning forward, his eyes locked onto hers. No, she sighed, then shook her head. I think I want to hear what Jake has to say, but I want to be honest about everything. Honesty is good, Mark nodded. Just be sure you're honest with yourself. You've grown so much. There's strength in that. She felt a flutter of hope, recalling the brightness Jake once brought into her life, but now shadowed by the weight of memories. But with Mark beside her, she felt centered, grounded in the present and excited about the possibilities ahead. As night came, she donned a sundress that felt like a celebration of her newfound confidence, smoothing it down with trembling fingers. Mark watched her with admiration, his presence steady, and suddenly, she felt ready. Okay, let us do this. I'm heading to meet him, she said, her voice stronger now. I'll be here waiting, Mark promised, giving her a solid squeeze. Packing her heart's treasures and fears, she strolled away, uncertainty mixed with determination. The walk towards Jake felt surreal, like walking on a tightrope, balancing between her past and potential future. When she entered the cafe where they agreed to meet, there he was, Jake, a blend of familiarity and hesitation. He looked up, surprise etched on his face. For a moment, all the memories came flooding back. The laughter, the love, the heartbreak. "Hey, Sarah," he said, his voice warm yet cautious. "Hey, Jake," she replied, feeling the weight of their shared history. They sat down, the conversation unfolding slowly but deliberately. He explained his feelings, his regrets, and how he had grown since their split. She listened intently, recognizing the sincerity in his eyes but also feeling the pang of old hurts. "Sarah, I miss us," he said, his voice barely a whisper. "Do you remember why we ended?" she asked, pushing through her emotions. "It wasn't just distance. It was the hurt and the way we lost sight of each other." "I know," he admitted, looking down. "That was tough. I should have done better." As he spoke, Sarah weighed his words against her own growth and the blossoming bond with Mark. The moment felt raw, yet liberating as she articulated her journey of self-discovery. "I'm different now too, Jake," she said as she spoke from her heart. "I've realized what I want and need in my life, and I can't pretend like we can just slip back into what we had. I have someone now who respects that." He frowned slightly, the pain evident, but there was no anger. "I just wanted to see if there was still a chance. Maybe there's a place for us to be friends someday," Sarah offered gently, feeling the bittersweet sting of reality. "But it's not the same love we had." Jake nodded slowly, his expression softening into acceptance. "I get it, Sarah. I want you to be happy." As she left the cafe, the weight lifted like fog dissipating under the morning sun. The encounter felt like closure, freeing her to embrace the unknown. Mark was waiting patiently outside, a smile breaking across his face as he greeted her. "How did it go?" She couldn't hold back the grin spreading wide. "Better than I expected. I think I finally closed that chapter." Mark's eyes lit up. "And I need to explore where this connection with you can lead," she said with a brave smile. Without hesitating, he took her hands, and together they walked into the night, filled with promise and endless possibilities. Sarah felt her heart lighten with every step. She was finally ready to weave her own story, one that embraced both her past and the beautiful uncertainty of her future. As they strolled side by side, laughter was ever present between them. The spark of newfound love flickered forward, proving that sometimes, bold choices lead us to unexpectedly bright tomorrows. Now more than ever, Sarah knew what it felt like to truly step into the light of her own life. You need to subscribe now to not miss the next exclusive stories. This is the moment to show your support. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and comment your reactions and feelings about the ending. Don't wait not even one more second. Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation.